What's up, everybody? Thank you, Daniel. You
Hello,
guys are
sir.
all on. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you being here. We'll have several more guys jumping on here in the next couple of minutes. What's up, Bronson? I see you, homie. Hey, do me a favor, unmute yourself and give us an update on kind of what you guys are doing there at Highlands, because I know you guys have been a juggernaut just to really help so many people. So while we're waiting on some more guys to jump on, just kind of give us an update on how things are going. Bronson pastors the Greystone campus, right?
Yep, Greystone campus, about 15 minutes from the main campus here in Birmingham, Alabama.
Crushing it. One of the most handsome Highlands campus pastors for sure. Tell us what you guys are doing there at Church of the Highlands, man.
Well, we're trying to partner with our cities as best we can. And so one of the things we're focused on is not creating need, but just meeting need that's available. And so things like we did the clinic, was able to get some testing in before a lot of the hospitals were even able to get testing in. What we're focused on right now, honestly, is blood drives. And so a lot of our campuses have turned into mobile blood drive locations. We're encouraging people to give blood because that's really at a shortage. And then just in the grassroots, we started with those that were at the most high risk, and everybody in our church at a certain age or older got a personal call from a staff member. And then we moved from that to single moms and widows. And then we moved from that to our entire dream team has gotten personal phone calls from staff members.
That's huge.
So it's kind of 3 or 4 things. And then we also obviously have ministry partners.
Did y'all call the whole church?
I'm sorry, you broke up. Say what?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we are making our way through the whole church.
That is a huge database, bro. That's a monster database. Well,
I think my first call list for my staff was right at 600 people that we divided up between the 7 of us and made phone calls.
Baller. You're a beast. Wayne Francis, I see you out there in New York, man. How you holding up? You holding it down out there?
We're trying, man. It's getting real interesting around here. A lot more deaths happening. I think the big wave right now, besides the sickness, is unemployment, and a lot of people getting their, salaries, haircut, or losing jobs. So that's kind of like running pace to pace with where people are at. So it's tough. It's really, and a lot of fatigue, healthcare workers, all that stuff that on the front lines, man. It's rough.
Did we lose Wayne?
Did y'all hear me?
Lost him. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Did you hear what I said before that? I don't know if I was just talking in the air.
It's the worst. I hate Zoom calls. No, yeah, we heard you at people lost their jobs, healthcare. That's kind of where you cut off.
Yeah. And we're just
what do you guys do? Yeah.
We're serving with this organization called it's called Hope Community Services in New Rochelle, where the epicenter happened in Westchester County. We're loaning our mobile washing unit. We have a 3-shower, bathroom, restroom situation that we're loaning to the Bowery next. I'm hoping to loan it to people down in New York City, but we're working with Westchester County is using it just for people that are homeless right now and are just having difficulties at hospitals. So it's just an extra hygiene kind of thing. So that's the 2 things that we're working with: the elderly population that are locked in quarantine, providing food for families, and the Westchester and the White Plains Youth Bureau, which is also helping to feed families that are lower income, locked in, can't get food deliveries. And that's basically the 3 ways that our church is serving right now.
You're a beast, man. I know I know you're in a challenging space right now, man. And we're definitely praying for you for sure. New York is a hotbed, man, for sure. We're going to wait just a few more minutes. We got several more guys jumping on. Phil Klein, I see you on here, and Phil is kind of my go-to pitch guy for anything new that you see on the horizon. Phil, what are people doing right now? Give us a couple of minutes. What are people doing right now that you say, hey, this is really something that I think you guys should think about, something I think you should lean into, something I think you should move towards?
I think the focus right now for everybody is looking to see how they could, at least in the short term and also in the long term, take what a lot of us would call growth track, whatever your assimilation process is, and also your, connecting. So kind of growth track. How do I get my connection process virtual, not only for now, but in the future, not just having it that way exclusively, but having kind of a dual track where we know people connect in different ways and we can onboard different. So I think, that obviously that's somewhat of a short term, but also a long term, but that seems to be a shared agreement that we need to get there. I think outside of that, there's a lot of stuff going on that is really encouraging. I feel like we're at a point where everybody is feeling post-Easter that we're in a shift of that point where everybody wants to get back to normal. We're not going to get there right away, but how much change should I make right now versus knowing that it could potentially be 30 days for some markets to be back and up and running. So I think that's the tension is, do I continue to innovate for the immediate, or do I stabilize and just wait another 2 weeks or 4 weeks to get back in the groove somewhat, to get back to normal?
Well, my hope is that they'll open up, this 3-phase thing that they posted yesterday. Churches are in the 3rd phase of it. So, and I do think I've seen some of the school requirements that they're putting out. And I know a lot of you guys are in schools, your portable campuses. We're all portable here. And so schools could be a real challenge as we come back. So we're looking at all different types of locations. We're looking at warehouses. We're looking at whatever we can find right now, because the schools are going to take in fact, some of them are going to be doing weekly temperature checks, staggered class openings. And so I think church could be the last thing on their mind. We're actually not trying to reach out to our schools right now. We kind of don't want to be on their radar. And then we'll see what happens from there. So I know a lot of you guys are portable. So I'd be interested to know what you're doing and how you're looking towards that. I know we're looking for alternate locations. Let me just, before we jump in here with Pastor Todd and Julie, next week, I've got Sean Napstead, I've got Daniel Floyd, and I've got Jimmy Rollins on. These are 3 church planners, 3 stud church planners from totally different areas of the country, doing totally different types of ministries, reaching very diverse audiences, some portable, some not portable, some both. And they're going to be talking to us next week, and it's going to be rapid fire. They're going to be talking about staff development, your team dynamics, how to build your dream team during this season, and then basically how to grow your church in a virtual environment. Because the truth is, as they open the economy back up, I really believe that they're going to stagger opening churches up to maybe give us, you can have 50 people now, and then maybe you can have 200 people now, and then maybe 400 people, but they have to sit 6 feet apart. So I think this ongoing challenge is going to be something. It's going to be a journey that we're all going to have to learn from each other on as we walk through this. That's basically what we're preparing for. Just so you'll know, and again, I wouldn't announce this to our church, but I am prepared to preach virtually for the foreseeable future, simply because depending on people getting back in the room, people getting back, them allowing us to have people back, who knows what it's going to be like. So I've told our team, let's prepare to do video kind of thing through August. And if they surprise us, awesome. I would love that. But I do think it shifts how we do ministry. I don't know that large group ministry is going to be something they're going to allow us to do for a while. So I think we need to be prepared for that. And we'll jump in on some of that with some of the questions. I know I've got Todd and Julie Mullins on right now. They pastor Christ Fellowship down in Florida. They have a lot of campuses. I can't remember. I think it's 11 or 12, maybe 17 campuses. I don't know. I know it's thousands of people, 27, 30,000 people. And they have been so influential, not just in the church world, but in my life as well. We've kind of connected at different things, and I've been watching them for a while. And I got to sit and talk to Pastor Todd. We were on a Convoy of Hope cruise last year, and just a few minutes of a conversation, he blew my mind with his innovative ideas. And then last week when we had Pastor Craig Rochelle on, Todd was on here, and I didn't know he was on. And I looked at us, so I was like, Todd's on. So after Pastor Craig got off, I said, hey, Todd, why don't you give us a few things? And some of you guys were on here. That dude dropped so many bombs in 5 minutes, I couldn't even take enough notes. So I called him afterwards, and I was like, hey, can you please come on and talk about some of the digital boot camp stuff that you guys are doing, the Genius Bars that you guys are doing, the fitness challenges that you guys are doing, how you're taking your church virtual. So Pastor Todd, if you don't mind, unmute yourself and let's get going, man. We're so glad to have you guys. Give him a great big hand. I know he can't hear you, but he can see you, and I think it'll help.
Hey guys, it is so good to be with you. Can you hear me, Jeremy? Coming through loud and clear?
Loud and clear, man.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So Julie and I both are with you. She's in another room in her office next door, so she's going to jump in here in a minute too, because she's really the brains behind everything that's going on here at the church. You're going to see why
awesome.
I dropped all those bombs. Last week they were all her bombs. So.
She's a great speaker and leader and teacher as well. She's brilliant, man.
She is. And Jeremy, really just honored to be here with you guys for a few minutes today. I learned so much when we got together last time, and I popped on that Craig call. It was great. Terrence Mullins is the one that kind of let me know about it. He goes, "Hey, are you joining the Jeremy call?" I'm like, "I don't know about it, but I want to." So he got me in. So thank you, Terrence. Shout out to History Makers Church. But yeah, we're all learning from this right now. And what this is so important so that we can keep growing, figuring out what's next, figuring out what's now and what needs to happen in the short term. But I just want to echo, Jeremy, what you're saying. I think we're in this for a little bit longer than what most people are thinking. Even if they do open up the churches, our team is kind of saying the same thing, that large gatherings of thousands of people, they're probably not going to let that happen anytime soon. And so what does that mean? How can we actually leverage and help our people become the church? We say church is in the building. We've been saying a lot of these things, and really now we're having to live it and live it out and work it out. And so some of the things that our team's going to start working on in the coming weeks here is, we already started it, is what does it look like to come back when it's time to come back? What will those phases look like? What do we need to be communicating to people even now to get them feeling okay about the time when that happens? Like how when Delta sends out their updates, and even though none of us want to fly on a plane right now, they're letting us know what they're doing to clean the planes and get everything ready. It just gives us assurance as we're heading into the time. So our team's kind of looking at that as well. And just want to kind of start off by encouraging us all what we know and what we are probably all saying to other pastors and our own staff and church family, that we're going to get through this, right? We're going to emerge through this. And I actually believe we're going to emerge through it stronger as a church, as the church, as families, as people, as a nation, because we always say that the struggle makes you stronger, and we're all in a struggle right now. We're trying to work this out and figure it out. But we're already seeing our church, we're better than we were a month ago. We're doing things better, more effectively and efficiently than we did. We're doing things we should have done maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, and we're getting to it now, and it is like making us better. We are already more efficient in the way we're communicating with people in a virtual world. And I was on the phone yesterday with John Maxwell, and he told me, he said, "Todd, this is one of the best things that could ever happen to the church." And I was kind of, caught off guard by a statement. I said, "John, unpack that for me for a minute." He goes, he said, "I've been praying for the church to get over themselves. And I've been praying for the church to think about the people on the outside. And this is forcing the church to do that. It's forcing people to talk to their neighbors about faith and share faith with people." And so it's really great. It's actually creating this tension that we're all working through. And Julie, why don't you jump on for a minute and talk about how we've been navigating the tension a little bit?
Yeah, because, hey guys, how y'all doing? This is like such an honor. And Todd just had so many great things to say. We've been watching your churches and what God's doing through you. It's really amazing how we're seeing the kingdom of God move forward in force in this season. So you guys are doing better than you think you are. I just want to encourage you that that your church is moving forward faster than you think it is. Your team is doing better than you think they are. And I just want to encourage you. Yesterday I was on a call with Henry Cloud, and he was saying that, that during these times and in these seasons of crisis, that our mind maps, when something like this happens, the maps in our mind become obliterated, right? They disappear. And the things that we formerly did aren't happening, and we can't move forward the way we did. And it's actually not uncommon for leaders in the seat that we're sitting in to actually lose 30 points of our IQ in that season. Let that sink in just a minute. And I was actually thinking, it's true. I can't even remember things that I did, that I said or did. I'm looking at, words from noonday prayer last week. I'm like, I don't remember writing that, but 30 points. And I think that we've come out of that crisis season, and we're kind of looking into this new normal. And so I just want to encourage you. You guys are amazing. And don't be discouraged. A lot of pastors were saying, I've just kind of hit this wall right now, but there's something great waiting for us on the other side of that wall. Todd said that we are better, but we're also, tired. There's this tension of we're getting better, we're getting stronger, but we're also really, navigating some of the fatigue that comes with this season. And there's just a lot of tensions. Church world is already full of tensions before we entered into this season, right? You've got the tension of trying to challenge your people to live as citizens of a heavenly kingdom in the context of our culture. That's a tension that we manage as spiritual leaders. We, on our staff, we're constantly managing that tension. Is this a family, a spiritual family, or is this a job? And the answer is yes. We are both, and we have to navigate that tension. In this season, the tension has just increased of, some of the tensions of managing the crisis and the complexity of this crisis at the same time of keeping our eye on the future, managing the tension of facing the facts and then also functioning in faith, right? That we can't go either or. We have to manage that tension. And one of the things we tell our team all the time is that tension is really, the definition is two opposing forces that actually cause extension. And so when you have these tensions that we actually are managing at the same time, not swinging too far to the right of facing the facts and leaving faith out, but not swinging so far to this side that we're just full of faith and we're not in touch with the reality that people are walking in. And so when we step into the tensions, our biggest responsibility as leaders is to provide leadership through these tensions and not swing so far to the other, so that at the end of this, there will be extension, there will be expansion, and that we will be stronger when we come out the other end. Because the truth is, not everyone's going to be stronger when we come out of this. We keep telling people, we're going to be stronger, we're going to be better. Well, you're not. If you're not picking up the weight, that we have to carry through the season and listening to the Holy Spirit, what he wants to teach us in the season, we're going to come out, just behind the 8 ball further than we were when we walked in. And so there's two things, like in managing through this tension, the tensions of this season that God's just been stirring on our hearts, the two, because the map has disappeared. And so, how do we manage these tensions? And for us, a couple things, the two biggest things is that as leaders is that we're staying connected and that we are giving clarity, right? That we're staying connected with all the different people groups that we're called to stay connected with, and for us, that could be a lot of people, but coming up with the lens to look at it, like one of the things that I've tried to do, and this is something, that I learned a long time ago about relationships, is staying connected, is like almost looking at it as concentric circles, that even Jesus, he had the crowd, he had the 120, he had the 12, he had the 3, and how he communicated with all of them and the frequency that he communicated with them was different, right? And so for us right now, having those circles and being able to put names in those circles, who do we need to be connecting with that's in this inner circle that is every day? I mean, we're meeting with our lead team every single day, having a 20-minute touch point. At first it was 3 hours a day. Now we're, but the dosage of that connection for our kingdom builders, the connection that we need to have, and really having specific communication points for each one of them, and then building in a dosage plan, the daily dose of what they need to be connected and how, and what they need to hear, and really making sure we're intentional about connection. And the second thing is bringing clarity, because we are the ones, we're the only ones in the seat that we sit in that can bring order into this chaos, right? And so for us, I think Todd probably told you that meant we began on Saturday. We had a 4.5-hour meeting where we actually had to bring clarity, because the way we functioned as a team 3 weeks ago was not going to was not going to serve us well in this season. We have a central and a campus system, and it just everything. Jeremy mentioned that we have several locations. Well, actually now we have one. Yeah. We used to have a bunch of campuses, and now we have one church, Christ Fellowship, that is, that has leadership in lots of different communities, but we had to just figure out how to reorg and structure. And so we put together these sprint teams that each team, we had to like tear down all the walls, or not walls, but lines, organizational lines between our core and our central system and our campuses to be able to give clarity to the certain teams that were going to be relevant in this season as we were running. We called them sprint teams. We said, hey, this might be messy. It might be the worst idea ever, but we got a 6-week sprint that we're getting ready to run in. And so these are the teams that we need to have for these 6-week sprints. These are the leaders. And we're now just in the process of deploying all of our teams into those different sprints and making sure they have clarity as they go. So I'm sorry, I probably talked too long, but
no, that's all good. Yeah, we're going to get to the sprint teams for sure. I think don't miss this. Sometimes we are tension avert. We don't want it. We try to avoid tension in an organization or in our own lives. But that definition that tension is actually two opposing forces that cause extension, which that's growth, that if we handle tension well as leaders, we're going to grow. Our organization is going to grow through this. So handle this tension well. This is what you're doing by these talks you're getting on. Keep learning, keep asking questions. What we've been asking over the last several weeks is what's working and what's not working. What did we start in the first few weeks that were really important or the best we knew how, but really now that we're 4 weeks into this, we shouldn't be doing that anymore. It's not as effective anymore. A couple of things that we did week 1 that Julie mentioned there is that we increased our meetings. And we realized that it wasn't the time to go dark or cancel meetings because we couldn't meet the way we thought we could. The truth is we actually amped up our meetings. And we still have a lot of meetings on Google Chats and Zoom all the time. We haven't pulled back from those. They're not as long now, but there's still a lot of touch points. So our campus pastors are still meeting. All of them still meet daily for 10 to 15 minutes to check in. They're still meeting with their campus teams daily. Even if it's just for prayer and encouragement and making sure everybody knows what to do for that day. And so in a season where days are running together and you're not even sure, is it Friday, is it Monday? They all seem the same to me. Those regular scheduled meetings, touch points, help set a rhythm with our teams. And it's a place for encouragement and it's a place for accountability. So I'd encourage you, even if your teams are just teams of volunteers, your key volunteers, stay connected with them regularly. That we're still doing. Also, we made sure at the beginning that we were staying intentional about connecting, not just meeting. So it wasn't just about having a meeting. It was about connecting with them as people. Sometimes as leaders, and I'm probably more guilty than anybody here, I'm just wanting to get to the point. What does the team need to know so that we can win the game? Let's go, come on. But I've had to remind myself, our team, our people too, and they're dealing with concerns and worries and maybe a house full of kids and they're not sure, how they're going to make it through. So taking time to actually ask them how they're holding up, how they're doing, how their spouse is doing, how they're doing spiritually, right? And then the third thing I would say, we've been intentional from the beginning to over communicate to people. My tendency is to think, if I've said it once, I'm sure you wrote it down, so I probably don't need to say it again, but that's not the reality, right? So in the first few weeks, we were sending out a daily update to our entire staff at 3:00. Those reduced down now to a couple times a week. But as we know, communication is king. And so we don't want others to fill in the blanks. We want to be filling in the blanks. Somebody asked the question about how often are you meeting with your staff? We still meet weekly with our staff. We started by sending out a link that they could all just kind of watch in, and we were at the office and one of the studios and a little worship, a little time of teaching, good reports. Recently, we've gone to a webinar setup, so it's kind of like Zoom, but it's different where you get to pull people in so different people can jump in. So the last couple of weeks, we kick it off, then the worship leader set their house, then we got good reports from the missions director and certain campus pastors telling us what we're doing on the calls. And then this last week, we actually brought in Lance Witt, who is out in his home in Colorado, but he taught for 20 minutes on soul care in this season, which is exactly what the team needed. And it was exactly what I wasn't prepared to give them because I'm in this other mode of trying to figure things out. And so we brought somebody in to do that. So I'd encourage you, if maybe you've got somebody that you can bring in to speak to your teams in a way that maybe isn't there for you right now, and it just gives them what they need. By the way, Lance Witt is amazing. He's one of the breakouts at ARC all the time, has a ministry called Replenish, does life plans. He is one of Julie and I's dearest friends, and has been mentoring us since the time we took over here at the church. Julie, anything you'd add to that part of just or Jeremy?
Side note on Lance, just so you guys know, Lance changed my life in 2016. I met him. Our church had grown so fast. I didn't know what to do. I was already way past my lid. And Lance came in and could see that deer in the headlights look in my eyes. We met on a trip, and he said, look, you look like you've been run over by a truck. Let's have breakfast in the morning. We had breakfast in the morning, and that started a friendship that I think will last my entire life. Lance is brilliant. And if you could get Lance in to do, in fact, I probably need to have Lance on here to do some software stuff. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And he's, and just because he and I are dear friends, I know he's got some time right now. Some other things he was doing are not happening. And actually, Julie and I, before this time, we would fly Lance in to our church every month for the last 10 years for about 3 or 4 days. And he mentors us, helps hold us accountable to spiritual health and soul care. His ministry is to help pastors stay holy, healthy, and humble. And I said, Lance, I want to be holy, healthy, and humble. So help us stay that way. So he's a great man of God. So Julie, anything you want to add about just staying intentional with staff and communication?
Yeah. I think that you hit a lot of that. I think that you're right. Just those intentional points, and then also intentional with our kingdom builders, even those layers of communication, that how we're communicating to the church at large is different. And we're inviting them into the conversation and going, and giving them, giving that inner circle of giving leaders really just a lot more information, inviting them into the conversation. And at the same time, making sure that we're finding ways to invest back into them in this season. And Todd, you can mention that just a little bit, but what we're doing to invest in business leaders. But one of the things in our team meetings that, again, managing the tension of, really navigating the complexity of this crisis, and also being making sure that we're ready when we have to ramp up, is that in every single meeting, I have 2 buckets on the board. And because in order to have clear vision, you have to be nearsighted and you have to be farsighted. And so I put the words up on the board, nearsighted and farsighted. And as we're talking, that we're constantly looking at, this is what we're doing now, but how will this impact us in the future? Are we too nearsighted? Are we not hitting enough, of what is coming? And so I think it's really important as leaders that we're, that we're constantly keeping that on the agenda. And it's actually visible for me in every single agenda that we're constantly keeping our eye on the ball. The other, do you want me to talk about Get Stronger Challenge, Todd, or did you already?
No, let's jump to the whole. I like that you brought that up about the nearsighted, farsighted, because that's what we realized in the first few weeks. We were being very nearsighted. What do we need to do now? How do we make sure we get online and communicate to everybody? What do we get for kids online, students online, young adults online? Everything was about making our website easier, cleaner for people to find. Again, we're not one church in all these locations. We're one church in one location, and it's online. So we had to take over our online church and figure out how to do this. So very, very, very nearsighted. In these last couple of weeks, we've been going, okay, we've got that to a place that's kind of sustainable right now. We need to be farsighted. And so there was still the tension of both, because we can't give up. So let me jump to real quick about bringing clarity and expectations to teams. We realized, as Julie mentioned, we were structured as one organization that was meeting in all these different locations, but the structure wasn't matching what our reality was. And I think last time we met, Pastor Craig talked about needing to stay nimble, to move quickly. And so we wanted to create some sprint teams to remove the lines between the core and the campus that have been there and that need to be erased, to create fluidity and quick response and reduce any kind of red tape there might be when you have different teams. So what we created, and I mentioned this last time real quickly, is we created just this past week a digital innovation team. And this digital innovation team is responsible to lead digitally through the season, curating the best ideas, what's happening out there, what are the best practices, what they're responsible for ideation in this time, and determining what we can actually do, because you can't do everything. You're seeing all these churches do that. Oh, we ought to try that. Well, what is the best way to do that? What is the best way? And then what can our platforms hold up? So we have a very small team, about four guys that can make quick decisions, that can give directions to the rest of the sprint teams. Julie and I are not on this team because I don't want to be worried about innovation, ideation, and all that. They can do that. And we allow them now to have kind of strong leadership in this season. And this is kind of the lead sprint team. The second team we created was a content team. Now this team's big. This team is actually determining what content needs to be put out there. What's the best rhythm? We had all of our campus pastors doing all sorts of things, morning and night, and prayer things and devotionals. And it just was like cluttering up we had kids ministries putting out things at all the different campuses. And so really they're going to start harnessing it and bringing it down to a rhythm that our people are wanting to digest, and we can actually get the best of the best out there. They'll develop content that will tie into the weekend, but flow out through the midweek. Kids, students, young adults, groups, Spanish, and this Get Stronger content that we'll talk about in a minute. But on the content team, we are actually assigning team members that are good writers, people that are films, communications, people that are going to actually capture the content. They don't report to their previous communications team. They're going to report to the content team. So the content team doesn't have to go, hey, we need a films guy. Hey, we need a media guy. We need somebody to record it. No, they're all a part of this team. So this team can create it, produce it, and get it out quickly as possible. The third team we've created is a connections team. And so we're retooling. This is the third sprint team, redefining what connections looks like at this time, because it's no longer just people filling out a connect card and sending it in even digitally. We're not getting a lot of response from that. We're actually becoming proactive. Instead of receptive and reactive, we're pursuing. So we're designating teams for each of the specific platforms. So we've got a bunch of people watching on Facebook Live, bunch of people on Church Online, bunch of people on Instagram, YouTube, and all of them interact differently. And so, for instance, over Easter weekend, we had 5,000 plus comments, likes, shares on Facebook and Instagram. And so you can trace back and find out who those people are. And then we connected that to our database, and we found that 2,200 of those 5,000 were not in our database. So now we have people reaching out to those 2,200 people that just posted a like or reposted a service. And we're just saying, hey, we saw you joined us for Easter service. How can we pray for you and your family at this time? Just to begin the conversation and begin to harvest the data of that. So that's one of the things we're doing in response to connecting. Also, we're really going to be recruiting Dream Team, our volunteer teams, to help us with continuing all the calls that they mentioned that they're doing at Highlands. We're doing that across our entire church, anybody in our database right now. And what started off as care calls, we were calling the elderly, calling the widows, calling the church, how are you, is now turning to coaching calls. Most people are doing okay. They need prayer, but most people now need to know how to find purpose in the middle of this pause, how can I get stronger in this time? So it's actually going to become spiritual coaching that's going to happen. And we're training up volunteers to do that. So we're not just relying on our staff to do that. Julie, anything you want to jump in and add, or Jeremy, a question?
That's brilliant. Wow. Keep going. This is unbelievable.
Okay,
those three teams right there are brilliant.
Well, the coaching team is really about, because some things have changed, but there's some things that still haven't changed, that still have not changed. They're still the same. We still have a strategy to get people connected and to be a pathway to help them grow spiritually. And so these coaching calls are helping them to direct them to opportunities that will help them grow in their faith. And that's where the Get Stronger challenge comes in, because right now we haven't yet put our what would be our growth track. We call ours the journey. We have not put that online yet, just because we're still trying to figure out, we're still trying to walk through who is actually joining us right now and what their best next step is right now. We have people joining us from all over the world, as I heard you guys mention too, all of you do, that we want to help them during this season, but we don't know that they're going to naturally translate into, church members when we exit the season. And we also at the same time have this opportunity for all the people that call Christ Fellowship their home, and are now tuning in, to be able to help them take a step. So we actually, going on the premise of, the fact that not everyone's going to be stronger at the end of this challenge. If you are not working out at home and you're eating Cheetos every day, you're not going to look fit at the end of this. And it's the same thing spiritually. And so I think that just because people think they're weathering the storm, that they're growing in their faith right now, and because they're just tuning in. So what we did was we took 4 of our core classes, central classes. We decided not to spread it too thin, but we took our freedom class and Financial Peace University, because there's such a need for that right now. We're doing Alpha online, and then we're also doing a Dig Deeper class for all those who really want to do something. It's almost like a college level Old Testament survey class, and we actually just took 4 of those, along with some one-time seminars that are really focused on parenting your kids in a digital world, how to lead yourself well. So we have these one-time webinars, and then 8-week classes that people can sign up for right now. And in order to do that, we're going to have we started on Easter promoting it. The classes start next week. But the cool thing is we can actually pick, because we're now one campus in one church, we can actually pick some of our best facilitators and leaders for those classes. And it was all material that we already had. And we can put that out there and allow our best teachers. And then when they break down into Zoom groups, they're going into their campus. If they are a campus, or if they're an online person, there will be group leaders representing each of their campuses, so that at the end of this, we'll be able to create a pathway for them to jump into groups. So that's kind of how we're doing it. We're also, with Alpha, we're actually telling people, hey, you may be new to your faith, you may have questions about faith, or you may know people that have questions about their faith and you're not sure how to answer them. Because we realize that if we just build this to the people who are new, or, that are not Christians, a lot of people aren't going for that class. But if we can, a lot of the people that actually need the class, if we pitch it to them that way, they're going to be more prone to jump into that class. So those are the 4 opportunities that we have, and we've offered them a couple daytime options, evening options, so that they can jump in and be a part of that. We also took everyone from our leadership college right now. We put everything they're doing on hold, and we asked them to be group leaders. We have hardly even promoted this, and we have had thousands sign up. And the craziest thing is that our Old Testament survey college level class is by far outpacing all of the others. So something we didn't, expect to see. So.
And Julie, I would just add too, I think Phil mentioned earlier that they were putting, or someone mentioned they were putting their grow process online, which I think is great. Like, it may not reach the people that are just now tuning in for the first time, but we have a lot of people in our church that they've not taken the time to go through grow, or we call it the journey. Now is a great time for that. And we would do that if it was ready to be recorded. We actually need to make some changes. And so we're a little behind in doing that. But Phil, I think
we are launching that in May. We are launching that in May. So definitely it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Let me speak to the virtual boot camp. Jeremy, you mentioned that as well. We are starting this week our virtual boot camp. And the goal of this for our staff is to raise the base level for all of our team during this digital only season. Your team is spread out. Some of them are really good at things. Some of them don't know the difference between posting and a Zoom meeting and a webinar. They don't know all that stuff. So we want to get everybody's baseline up, because I want everybody to be able to have groups online and lead Zoom meetings like this online and know how to record it. And so we have to get everybody's terminology up, posting up, everything, the whole standard in the area of technology and online pastoral care and counseling. So both of those areas the bar has to be raised right now. So we are identifying experts in the different various fields that we have with social medias, Facebook, Zoom, Instagram, Yellow Duck, video capturing, video editing, all those different things. And we're actually leveraging that along with like a website, lynda.com, lynda.com, which offers some classes, basic classes that you can send people through. So that's how we're going to help raise the bar. And then on top of that, We're going to identify the people that are the experts in the field, like they're really great at Facebook. We did a staff survey and found out, we asked questions. What are you good at that we don't know you're good at? Like you might be in children's ministry, but you're awesome at editing videos or something on the side. And so we're mining on our team for people that can actually do some things that maybe is outside their job descriptions currently, but it's actually what we need right now. And then we're bringing them on to help with all the plethora of things that we're adding in right now. So that's going to happen. We're going to identify the experts, train some people up so that they can actually be, I think you mentioned that we talked about a genius bar. We're trying to have a place where people on our team can go when they go, I need help understanding Instagram, or I'm having problem recording this. And they're, instead of going to our very limited IT team or social media team, there's actually a broadened team that is good at this for our staff. And then the second thing is pastoral care. Right now, so many people we're on Zoom calls, we're calling people dealing with grief, anxiety, mental health. And I realized the breadth of our team is not prepared to do that. And so we've got to help get them ready to do that and be effective. So we're going to be raising that level. We're also going to be doing some boot camp training on some mental health opportunities of like crisis. They're going to be trained to the crisis level and be able to go in and help outside of this time of crisis. When a crisis happens in the community, they're going to be trained and licensed to actually go out and be that, they're not a licensed therapist, but a crisis counselor in the season. So we're leveraging the time we have with our staff, because many of them aren't doing their other jobs that they were doing before, to be actually equipped and trained that will actually carry us out of the season with strength. Julie, anything you'd add to that?
Yes, that's so good. One of the things I wanted to mention too is that the whole getting our staff to also really raise the level of, of just understanding that it's not our job to do ministry. It's our job to give ministry away as much as we can to equip saints for service, as we all know that. But it's in this season, it's really super challenging because there's so many things that our volunteers can't do right now. So we're on Sunday night when we do our infuse and invite Dream Team members to, sign up for these new opportunities.
You tell them what that, they don't know about our infuse. So we bring our Dream Team all together, normally in a big building, all the campuses come together, multiple campuses. We call it infuse. And so we decided to do a virtual one online this Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. And so we've invited all of our volunteers to come, and we're saying, hey, you may have been volunteering here, but these are the sprint teams that we're running with in this season. And they're not the same ones as staff. They're the ones that only that volunteers could, sign up for. Influencers, obviously, that's anyone that can promote through social media. That's kind of the lowest bar, but the connection calls, and then the Get Stronger challenge, and then prayer and care, really mobilizing prayer ministry and care ministry. And we have leaders for those, but the Get Stronger challenge, it really allows us an opportunity because, we're going to allow people to sign up. Hey, if you have never been a group leader before and you want to be a group leader, this is the time that you're going to get training, because what we have already assigned our staff to lead in many of those groups. What we're telling them is, hey, the span of time to catch these people up to speed has just decreased dramatically. And so now I want just to let you know that these Dream Team members have already been through our journey process. So if they're invited to this, they've already been through our process of our growth track. And so, but they might not have ever led a group before. And so what we're allowing our staff to do is say, hey, if you're leading a group, we're going to pair you with someone who's never been a group leader before, and they're going to get on the job training with you. So beyond their initial, training that they're going to get when we send them, a training video, have that first huddle meeting, they're going to be paired with a staff person or an experienced group leader. So the cool thing is, nearsighted and farsighted, is that we're going to take care of the need right now, but our hope is that we're going to actually harvest hundreds and hundreds of group leaders that are ready to launch groups when we come out of this season. And we're telling our team, it's not your job to lead the group. It's your job to be able to invest in a leader that's leading a group, so that we have an army of group leaders coming out of this stronger than ever. So
that's brilliant.
And that's with all of the teams.
So our goal with this whole, I'm not calling it a reorg, but it's kind of what it is. It's a temporary reorg that we're saying it's a 6-week sprint, but this actually, I think it's going to, we're going to redefine it after 6 weeks for another 6 weeks. it's really so that we are looking ahead and we can get a little farsighted and we can learn some things in this season that are actually going to carry us out of the season. Carrie Newhoff is saying that digital is the new default. And the more I'm thinking about it, I know there's going to be, people church is going to come back together. We're going to gather, but there's going to be some people that it's going to be a long time before they feel comfortable getting in a room with 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, hundreds and hundreds of people. And they're going to choose to stay home and watch it, especially if we all get good at this. Like if our online services get good and we've got content for kids and that's good and groups are good online, it's going to be hard for people. It's like if you can watch the same movie in the cinema, or you can watch theater, or you can watch it at your own home on TV and eat your own popcorn, not the $7 popcorn. Most of us are not going to get in the car, get dressed to go to a theater to watch a movie if I could watch the same exact movie at the time I want from my home. And so I'm wrestling with how do we get really good with being effective online and even helping people in our church be effective with their neighbors and their friends and their peers online, that they maybe their friends would never come with them maybe to church, and they've tried, but they would come over and have breakfast and eat a bagel and watch TV and watch the service. There's just all those things I'm thinking about. So how do we take our learnings in this season and how we're going to prepare our teams and our volunteers and come out of it so much more effective to reach so many more people than we've been reaching 2 months ago. So that's a little bit of what we're doing right now. Jeremy?
That's a lot of bit of what y'all are doing, man. That is, honestly, I've been sitting here taking tons of notes. Travis Green, you had a great question. Can you unmute yourself and ask that question in your Hogwarts sweater, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Hey, man, this content is golden. First of all, thank y'all so much for this. I'm over here taking a bunch of notes myself. And so as I'm typing, I'm sending out information to my team. So I contacted my connections pastor and was like, hey, we have to be more proactive. We have to be more proactive. And she said, that's great. So with my team, with them being proactive and chasing down those who aren't within our database, the question is this, Pastor Todd, do you guys do it within your church's social media profile, or do they do it individually?
It's within I believe, Julie, do you know if I think it's within the church's social media profile, because the people are connecting that way. Mm-hmm. So it would probably be people getting on to the Christ Fellowship and then reaching back out through that. We've just started that this week, so it's kind of new. Yeah. And I'm also being told by somebody in the room that we're doing both. So some people that are on they're on as kind of chat hosts and greeters and connectors, they're reaching back out as well on their own.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. Follow-up, Travis, any follow-up to that?
Yeah, so we've been raising up engagers and chat hosts and things, but I think we're trying to find that line of at what point does it look like they're just spamming, because we have a pretty broad international following as well. And so we have some people from Nigeria and different people like, hey, buy this painting and all kind of stuff like that. So at what point is it too much information, and how do we separate to let them know, okay, this is legit, you can click this link?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we put too many of our staff in the chat rooms for the first couple of weeks, and it was clutter, it was noise, so now we've just pulled a lot of them out and just have the right people in there that are trained to know, here's how you respond, here's how you keep people focused on the message so it doesn't go off trail here. Here's if somebody needs prayer, how you take them out of the chat and say, hey, would you direct message me, and we're going to have a prayer time over here. So we've had to narrow it down as well because it got too noisy.
That brings up another great point, Travis. We've had some of the same stuff where people will jump in and they figure out where the audience is, and they go where the audience is because now they're trying to sell their product to your audience. So we just restrict them. I mean, as soon as they pop something up, we restrict them. We don't necessarily block them because I want them to actually get the message. We restrict them where nobody can see what they're posting. So honestly, it helps if you have one person that's their only job in every chat room is to restrict or block people like that, and then other people that are responding.
That's good.
Anything else on that, Todd?
No, I think that covered it.
Okay. So we have a bunch of questions, like a ton of questions. So you talked a little bit about this. Maybe talk for a minute minute and 30 about how you're engaging volunteers right now. Is it primarily the Sunday night infuse thing? And then what are you onboarding them to do? I know you said you're getting some of them to make phone calls. How are they jumping on the team?
Okay. So so Sunday night's going to be the first time that we've called all of our dream team together. They've all been called. Like if I'm over this group of dream team, they've been called. They've been going into a huddle before services start, and we've been encouraging them and to stay in the chats and kind of but that created a lot of noise. So that's when we decided we actually need to redefine what a volunteer can do in this season. And so we got together and defined the influencer that, Craig Rochelle talked about a little bit last week that everybody can do. You got an email, you got a social media account, you can text, but we're going to give them we're going to give them more than that. We're going to try to give them here's how you would do that. Here's how you do the share button. So we're trying to coach them to do that in an appropriate way. Second, lead a group through our Get Stronger Challenge. So we got the Get Stronger Challenge coming up. Everybody, we're going to challenge all of you that are dream teamers that you're going to jump in, you're going to influence by stepping in and getting into one of the classes, and then you're going to lead a table group. So we got table groups within one of the classes. And if you don't feel ready to lead one, that you co-lead one. And so there's going to be a way they can register for that. The connections team, if you would like to be trained on the new systems and you want to help out with phone calls to the people, you're going to get trained. And so we've got the training is already being prepared this past week so that when they sign up Sunday night, they're going to get their training, hopefully by trained up video. So it's not a scheduled thing. They can do it online and on demand. Then they're prepared after they've done that to then get into on the team that's going to be doing the calls and the follow-ups. Prayer and care, same thing. We're talking about bringing back old-fashioned prayer chains, and this person is going to email this person and these people, and that's going to get the prayer chains going out just to get people involved. I mean, when you think about it, your dream teamers are your most committed people in your church. They're willing to give up their weekend, right? Your staff gets paid to give up their weekend, but your dream team, they don't get paid. They're going to give up their weekend, and then they're going to go back to work Monday morning. So they're committed to this thing. They're not paid to be there. They're committed to it. And so for the last few weeks, we haven't engaged them. And I'm like, so there's 4 teams: influence, groups, connections, prayer, care. Then
Missions.
Next 2, we're still working. Sorry, Julie, go ahead.
Missions is the other one.
Yeah, tell them about that.
With our missions team, obviously our missions team, there's only, a few people that can go out and actually do boots on the ground work, but we're actually giving people ideas and resources to be able to feed, the projects that we're doing, and then be able to give them ideas to help others in their community, and then giving a way to be encouraged. We're going to have when they'll have like a huddle once a week of just being able to share good reports and some of the things that are grassroots, but then also some of the things that are feeding the projects that we're already doing, meeting the needs in the community. Some people, people need, they need to be fed ideas, to be able to feel like they're having a purpose in this season. And so that's part of it too. And then harvesting all of those together. And if you notice that all of the opportunities that they have coincide with most of our sprint teams. Obviously, there's specialized sprint teams like the digital innovation that we're not inviting the masses to, but every one of these opportunities are coinciding with one of our sprint teams that our staff are being assigned to. And so, we're inviting them to do, just the ministry and they're going to be, jumping into one of those sprint teams.
Yeah, and so just to touch on missions again, so our missions team put together these ideas that you can do in your own neighborhood. So again, we're not trying to gather large groups of people to go serve the city, but you can set out, snacks for the postal workers and the people picking up the trash. You can make a care package for healthcare workers. You can check on your neighbors that are elderly. You're already going to the grocery store for yourself. Check on a few people to see if you can help pick up some groceries for them and save them from having to go out. And so they've listed out about 8 different ideas that you and your family could do on your own in your neighborhood as a part of life over this next season, and just trying to resource people to do their own thing.
And creating hashtags to, so that we can celebrate those stories and just things like that, just tying it all together.
That's you guys are brilliant. So, I mean, the questions are overwhelming, how many we're getting. So I think everybody wants to know, a little bit more clarity on maybe give us some steps. So everybody on here wants to start sprint teams right now. Like I want to start them. I think everybody on here wants to start sprint teams. So if we want to start sprint teams, how do we do it? Is there a document that you guys have that you could share with us that we could post on the website, or maybe send an email to everybody on, hey, here's how you would do a sprint team and how you would oversee it? Can you talk just a little bit more, like in a real simplified way, like, hey, if I were speaking to your church, here's how you start a sprint teams?
Yeah, I think it started by, first of all, we didn't call them sprint teams at first. I was thinking, and we've got to reorganize our team for this season. And we've got to break down these walls between, well, my job is over here with kids. Yeah, but right now you don't need to be doing that. This is what the church needs to do. So it starts by identifying what you as a team, your church, what do you need to accomplish? And then how do you organize the teams to accomplish what you need to accomplish? And so we just laid out, first of all, I need a leadership team over this. For this next season, I don't want to be the one having to think about how to innovate and create and I need to speak to it, but there needs that team. Then we found that content was a big problem. So we looked at the problem, went, what we need to do is be able to align the content, condense the content, and it needs to be able to get created quickly. That's where the sprint thing came in, where you're like, this needs to happen fast. Mm-hmm. So they need to move. So we got the best guy on our team that's with content. We let him pick his team. We said, tell us everybody you want. You get like first dibs on that. And what do you need? And we're going to help you. The connections guy. We said, what do you need to be effective in connections, and how many people do you need, and what resources and training do you need? And so we identified either it was a pain point, that was a problem that needed to be fixed, or it was an opportunity to seize, like chasing after these Facebook comments. And we're going to be proactive instead of receptive in people wanting to connect with us. And so we identified those two places, and then from there began to set the teams up that we needed to. And then Get Stronger was an idea, just going, we saw these universities giving out free classes over the season. We're like, let's do that. Let's put some classes on, get it up. And that's going to make it, we got to have a team that's going to organize that and get the whole, the table groups together. Julie, we don't really have a document. We could probably put something
together. I would also say that on the management side of all of this, we have our senior leadership team, which is Todd and me and 3 other of the executive pastors. And the next level down for this season, for this sprint team, we're calling our sprint management team, an SMT, sprint management team. And we took the leader from every single one of the sprint teams, and we're meeting with them regularly, so that we're making sure, because some of these sprints, some people might be on 2 or 3 teams downstream. If you're a children's ministry worker who used to do weekend services, there's a chance you're on the content team and the connections team. And so there is a fair amount of coordination in making sure, that people are being able to align to their teams. But we've got the senior management team that we know, in order to move quickly, it's like this lateral team. We've identified who the leaders are for each team. And then we've also brought in a few of the logistics and production people that need to serve those. And we're running instead of having our second level executive team, or we used to have something called a lateral team, we're saying we've got to be leaner in this season, and those are our people for this season. And so senior leadership, then that team. And as far as a document goes, and we don't even know if this is the best way to do this, but if you're at all familiar with StratOps, the process of StratOps, they actually are a strategic planning process. And one of the things that they do is, at the end, when you come out of the StratOps process, you actually have action initiative plans. They're called AIPs. And it's a 1-page form where you identify the team, who the members of the team are, what their 4 or 5 primary objectives are, the resources that they need, and then, who does what by when. It's just a real simple structure that we actually said, let's pull that out. And for every single sprint team, we're going to just fill out this 1-page document that this is how we're going to manage this. This has become our playbook for this season. So it was just like a playbook that we are putting together. We had a meeting on Saturday. They are putting it together by this Saturday. Each sprint team is putting this together. And this is our playbook for this season. And that's why that's why we're calling it a sprint team, because we have, we believe that this is going to work, but we're not even sure if this is the best way to do it. So we can call an audible at any time and go, okay, we need to shift gears. But it really does. It's given so much clarity to our teams to be able to assign every member of our team to one of these teams or two of these teams, and then be able to, take the time to build a play that's going to be able to carry us for the next 6 weeks. So that's kind of on how we're managing it from this level.
That's brilliant. So basically the big church, which you guys have a massive church, has become one church with very streamlined goals and processes.
Right. So for the church member, there's 5 sprint teams. Internally, we have about 8 sprint teams that we're running internally. But for the church member, this is what we're doing for this season. It's really clear. For our staff, this is what we're doing.
Could you have somebody on your team? I know neither one of you have time. Maybe just develop a 1-page document on the sprint teams, what they, like you just said, you have 8 internally, 5 externally, like what those are, and a 1 sentence what they do. Because I know I'm going to have a ton of guys follow up and say, hey man, I want to do that, but how do I do that? And so just that 1-page or 2-page document would be a brilliant thing. And then I've had a ton of people hit, hey, we want the 8 things for missions in our community. So you don't have to do that right now, but maybe just a 1-page document on, hey, here's the ideas for missions in your community. I think right now everybody's looking for just ideas, how we can plug people in. And Todd, both of you are weekend speakers. You're brilliant at it. Everybody's preaching faith over fear right now. As we move forward, what are you preaching next? we know we're going to be in this for a while. How do we tackle the topics that people need to deal with beyond faith over fear? And that's great. I could preach it all year long. I'm a faith preacher, but what's next for you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think we're all struggling with that. I remember you saying, since it's a part of our heart, it's always going to find its way into our messages, but the message does need to change. It can't be the same thing for the next 3 months or 6 months. I'm getting ready to move into, I started by asking the questions, what are they asking? What questions are people asking right now that need to be answered? And I think a lot of people are asking the question, why God is this happening? Why God, whether it's the high school senior that's saying, God, why did my graduation and my prom and my whole senior year, something as we would maybe say not small, but smaller, as to why did I lose my job? God, why, if you're a good God, why is such a bad thing happening in our world? And I think people are wrestling with doubt. And so I'm actually kicking off, I'm not going to call it a 3-week series, but the next 3 weeks, I'm going to wrestle with some of those harder questions. Why God? With kind of pulling it back around to flipping the question to why God? Why do you go to God? Why can we run to God? Why is God, man, he's the only one we can run to in times like this. So it's going to have this juxtaposed tension. Why do bad things happen to good people will probably be embedded in there a little bit, because a lot of people I'm talking to, that's the questions they're asking. They're struggling with doubt. So I'm actually kicking off this weekend talking about Thomas, because it was a week after, the resurrection. He's in the upper room still doubting, and I got to touch his side and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm kind of normalizing doubt. It's okay that if you're struggling with doubt, it's okay. We always say that church ought to be the safest place to ask the hardest questions. So you can ask those hard questions right now. And here's some of the questions and we're even thinking about double clicking off that on Sunday and having some conversations in our living room where we actually can interact with some of their questions to connect them back. So I think it's, I don't have the thing written down here. Julie, I don't remember I got 3 different characters I'm hitting on for the next 3 weeks that had those doubt questions and struggled and kind of been okay with it. Sorry?
Yeah. We're doing Habakkuk in 1 week, and I can't remember, honestly, the
Habakkuk, and then I think it might be Job for the week 3. So we've just got some light Old Testament stuff going on, I guess. I don't know. But really, those will be the platforms that I really deal with the questions that people are asking right now. That, the people that are losing their jobs, we have people that have lost loved ones to COVID, and they're asking the question, why? God, why are you letting this happen? And so I think we'll try to hit everybody, because some people aren't asking the hardest questions, and then it's also a great place for me to push people to Alpha, which is what we're doing, this online Alpha, which, man, if you guys have not looked into that yet, Alpha is helping people with those, those questions of just, man, I just want to feel comfortable challenging why I should believe this way. So
that's brilliant. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. Todd and Julie Mullins, unreal, incredible content. And thank you guys, everybody watching. I'll stay on for a few minutes. Todd and Julie, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. What's your website?
Christfellowship.church.
We literally heard the guy whisper to you.
I know, because we just changed it. I was getting ready to say go christfellowship.com, and we just changed it like right in the middle of this mess. So everything has both of them on there. That is Zach. He's like he's the man behind the curtain.
We lost 30 IQ points. We just lost 30 IQ points. We don't. Yeah.
Oh man,
what's our church name? I don't know.
What's my name? I don't know. Thank you guys. One more time. Thank y'all. Guys, I'm going to stay on for a few minutes and pop through some more of these questions. Todd and Julie, thank you guys so much.
We love you guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody, make sure you go to hopecity.com/roundtable. We're going to send you all of the stuff that Todd and Julie, whatever they send us, we're going to send you. Hopefully we'll get those 8 questions and then we'll get some stuff on the sprint, the sprint team. That was brilliant. Next week, I've already confirmed Daniel Floyd, Sean Nepstad, and Jimmy Rollins. All of them are baller church planners. All of them handling this very differently in totally different areas of the country. It's going to be rapid fire. It's going to be a really fast hour, and we're going to try to tackle a lot of questions. I'm going to try to go rapid fire right now for about 5 minutes and just bust through, because we got a ton of questions, more than I could actually give them, because they were, dude, that was unbelievable. They were brilliant. Okay. So I'm going to try to ask some of these answer some of these that don't apply to what Todd and Julie are doing. Should I be changing systems, or my thoughts about them during this crisis? That's a great question for Phil Klein. But I would just tell you quickly, yes, you should be changing your systems and your thoughts about them during this crisis. You just heard it. A great short-term system is a sprint team. So that's phenomenal. Digital is the new default. Do we need to structure our staff in the short term and then project for the long term? I think that question was answered during the process. Again, I'm reading some of these and just happen to answer it while you go. How are you engaging volunteers right now? We did a digital dream team meeting, and it was unbelievable. So let me just tell you this. There's a big, and you guys can open your video now if you want to. The only reason we closed off the video, you can start your video now if you want to. The only reason we stopped the video was because it slows down. Sometimes it slows down the connectivity. So if you start having connectivity problems, then you can stop that video. There's something unique. So when I start seeing you guys again, that blesses me. I can't stand the webinar format. I just don't like it. Whenever I jump onto a call, it's a webinar, so I'm just seeing one face. And maybe it's because I'm ADD. I like seeing everybody. So I can tell you this, with your dream teams, if you can, Zoom, I think, is free up to 100. Is that right? It's free up to 100, and then it's like $50 or something to open up to 500 or something like that. But I think there's something awesome about when the video is open, being able to see the people in your church. I cried like a baby when we had our first digital dream team meeting, and it was unbelievable. Something else we've done is hopecity.com DDT, hopecity.com digital dream team. And we actually now are signing people up to serve on the digital dream team. And we have people signing up from all over the world. We actually have launched our growth track online now. And we are using hang on, I wrote it down. Give me 2 seconds. I'm terrible at this. Okay. We're using the Trained Up platform. So it's kind of like Netflix. There's an intro video, and then they can just jump to the next video, the next video, the next video, the next video. And once they've completed it, then they can sign up for the digital dream team and lead a group. Yes, it's going to be messy. Absolutely. It's going to be messy. We get it. We're just trying to reach people right now. And so my frame of ministry is save them all, let God sort them out. And so we'll be in this process for a while. And when we get through, I'm just trying to get people in. I'm just trying to get them connected. Hey, sign on the dotted line. Here's what we believe. We're very strong about that in our growth track. Let's get them signed up. Let's get them serving somewhere. And then once we go back, I can connect them to your church. And if they're locally in the area, they can come to our church, and then we can get it all cleaned up from there. All right, let me get back to some of the questions. I don't know if this is helping you guys or not. Maybe it is. All right. God, there's so many questions. Right time for normal sermons. I think you just heard that answer. How are we measuring metrics? I think it's good to look at, the amount of views. We don't measure anything less than the 3-second view. If you're measuring the 1-second view, I think people accidentally click. If they stay longer than 3 seconds, they were kind of intentional to stay there. They wanted to click on that, or they clicked and then they got caught. I don't put a lot of stock in how many people are watching live on the weekend. I put way more stock in how many people are connecting on the weekend. So we're constantly trying to push them to a point of connection, kind of funnel them, have different, I don't know if you've heard of click funnels, but where you literally have them at different phases. Like, so we'll do hopecity.com/prayer, hopecity.com/groups, hopecity.com/DDT, hopecity.com/whatever. We're just trying to get them connected in whatever it is they need, whatever funnel we're trying to get them in so that we can connect with them. And because there's a big difference between watching something and actually connecting with it. All right. What about children and youth right now? We're producing kids content. We asked that question last week and answered it. We're doing once a month youth, but we're doing youth groups. It's literally the same thing as your church, just designed for youth and kids. I loved what Todd and Julie said about parenting in the digital age. I think that would be a class that would blow up right now. Let me just see if there's anything else that I can answer right now. Sorry, there's just literally, if you saw these, this is all questions that have come in. So do we add campus pastors in the Sunday experience now? I don't think so. Honestly, I think with CPs, you're managing your campus from your location, from your group page, from your Facebook group page, from your Instagram, you're managing them right now. So if you're a part of a multi-campus church, I don't know that we bring campus pastors in right now, simply because there's some of the churches have, like Highlands has a ton of campus pastors. You'd have a different campus pastor every weekend for like 6 months. It'd be crazy how big they are. I think that's all I'll do right now. I hope that helps you guys. How do we navigate it? Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Thank you, Mitch. How do we navigate? And this is a great question. Let me just make sure I read it right. How do we navigate the exposing of leaders who aren't leading well in this season? That's a hard one. And I think it has to come first with a conversation. And the conversation, Lance Witt taught me a lot. And one of the things that he taught me was you start the conversation with, hey, this isn't working. That's the first thing you have to tell them. Hey, this isn't working. What's happening here? Whether it's their lack of integrity or their lack of work ethic or their lack of actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, you have to at some point have a benchmark moment. This isn't working. Then what we tend to do is we give them 30, 60, or 90 days to correct. And it's a managed correct. Like, hey, listen, we want to work with you, but how you're operating currently isn't working. Here's who you're going to talk to, whether that's me as the senior pastor or whether that's somebody else on the team. Here's who you're going to talk to, and we're going to develop a plan for you. And whether it involves daily check-in, weekly check-ins, bi-weekly check-ins, it's a 30, 60, or 90-day plan to help them get better. Okay. Now, they're going to know every week whether they're hitting the benchmarks as long as you set benchmarks. Listen, it's very important. If you tell them this is not working, you need to fix it, but you don't actually give them a plan to fix it, guess what's going to happen? In 3 weeks, you're going to have the same exact conversation. This is not working. We can't have you acting like this. No. There has to be actual progressive growth steps that they have to take, and they know they have to take. So next weekend, when we talk, or next Tuesday, when we talk, I need you to have built a team of 17 leaders. I need you to have communicated with them and documented that communication daily. And I need to hear from the team that we're working with that your attitude has improved. So I'm going to be talking to people about how you're leading that team. We're going to talk again next Tuesday. Remember, it's the 17 leaders, and then I'm going to send them an email and re-up that. Because here's the bottom line. If they continue to miss benchmarks, they fire themselves. They let themselves go. They're telling you, I don't want to do this anymore. So I hope that helps you. I love you guys. HopeCity.com/roundtable next weekend, next Friday. Man, I'm praying for you. I love you guys. All I want to do is just help, and I hope this has been helpful to you. Share it. Please share it with your pastor friends and church staff friends. If it'll help them, we'll keep doing this, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do as we navigate toward the end of this. I love you guys so much. Hey, I see my dad's on here. Hey, Pop. I see you taking notes over there. Can you unmute yourself, and would you pray over us real quick?
Thank you, Jeremy. Phenomenal meeting. Father, I want to thank you so much for these pastors. I want to thank you for their passion, their burden, and their concern during this time and leading their people and leading their communities, God. Thank you for the words we heard today. Overshadow these pastors, be with them, their families, their churches, give them wisdom, knowledge, understanding, courage. I plead the blood of Jesus Christ over them and every decision they make and the leadership that they are giving right now. I thank you for them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Come on, ain't no prayer like the bishop prayer. I love you guys. Y'all have a great weekend and praying for you this weekend. Love you.